things don't always go well. Sometimes they actually blow up completely. Maybe you're a business who runs a crypto exchange and you have a ton of leverage and then the crypto market crashes. And suppose your name is Celsius Networks. That's exactly what happened, folks. In this video, we're going to talk about what happened to Celsius and what you can do about it. Hit the intro.
Up guys, what's there? My name's Andre Steven. I'm kidding. I love both those guys though. But my name is Forrest and I invest in stuff and you should too. Today we're going to talk about Celsius going bankrupt and what does this mean for us and the crypto community in general. First, let's just talk a little bit about Celsius and the business that they're in. Right, so Celsius is a crypto exchange. Red flag number one, if you're into the whole crypto world, and I could really go on a tangent about this, but they're an exchange, and exchanges are a centralized place to really move money around, right? They facilitate speculation, which is cool, right? So if you like speculating, if you're a trader, right, Celsius is a place that you could do that. You know, one of the big things that a lot of exchanges do though is that they do these more like loan programs, things like that, you know, high APRs on assets, right? Stake your assets on the platform, you get 10-20% back, things like that. Borrowing money backed by or collateralized by your assets and things like that. Celsius, very similar to KuCoin, many other exchanges out there. A lot of them are going bankrupt and it's putting ripples throughout the crypto community, no pun intended, right? So what did they actually file here and what is the big news here? They filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which basically states that all of the assets, right, under management, or the assets that they have on their platform, are owned by them. So every single customer of Celsius who had their money, right, who was just keeping it there in their wallet on Celsius, has lost all their money. All your money is gone. If you had $50,000 in Celsius, it's gone. If you had $50 on Celsius, it's gone, right? If you had 2 cents on Celsius, it's gone, right? It's just gone. And this is mind-blowing to me. It's really unfortunate, and my heart goes out to everybody who lost money. You know, losing money is not nothing to laugh at, and I definitely don't condone people online who, you know, are basically going, you know, hey, I told you so. I mean, there's an element of that is correct in the fact that there have been a lot of warnings about the dangers of keeping your money on an exchange, but it became so prevalent, and there have been so many people advocating for it that has become a mixed message, right? If you go to, you know, the crypto subreddit, for instance, there are so many people talking about, you know, it's okay to leave your money on exchange, or people were saying to take it off, you know, is it an overblown risk, that I could see why it'd be easy for especially someone who's just getting into the space to, you know, put it on the exchange and take that risk, you know, really unknowing to them how large that risk actually is, right? So let's actually break it down. And I'm looking at an article here on Cointelegraph. I'm pretty sure that this is just an article aggregator, right? Their information, I don't think they're a primary source. I'm just throwing that out there, but it is really just when I'm pulling it up. There's some high level information that I just really wanted to look at here for this video, which I have seen corroborated across, you know, many different sources at this point, right? And really that is their balance sheet. So if we look at the difference between liabilities and assets, and I'll put this up on the screen, right? Their total liabilities is 5.5 billion. Total assets is 4.3 billion. And so there's a deficit of 1.19 billion on their balance sheet. And what that means is that there's actually there's a deficit of over $1 billion in what they should have in the bank, right? And this is a big problem. And one of the reasons that this happens is, again, because these exchanges will cross-collateralize their assets, right? They will collateralize their own coin to, reloan or generate more money. And what does that actually mean, right? So this is very similar to what a bank will do. A real regulated bank will take your $100 and they will turn your $100 into $500 by leveraging it. It's not as simple as that, but we do the same thing when we buy a house, right? And you go out and you buy a house. You don't buy the house for 100% cash, right? You will go out and buy a house. So you buy a house that's, $500,000. You might only put $150,000 down, right? But now you have $500,000 of assets. You have an asset that is worth $500,000 in your name, even though you only put up $150,000 in collateral, right? And so banks, all these different entities are doing the same thing, right? They're basically taking collateral and they're using it to collateralize or exchange or buy assets of higher value. Also, there is the problem of the exchange-based tokens, right? So Binance Coin or Binance Token is an example of this. I think Celsius is CEL token, right? It says here. Ooh, what does it say here? Right. So here it says user deposits made up the majority of liabilities at 4.72 billion, while Celsius's assets include CEL tokens at assets valued at 600 million. The exchange is basically saying that their own token is worth $600 million. This alone could be its own topic, its own video, but let's talk about the problem of this, right? You basically have an unregulated entity who's basically saying that the token that we invented and whose value only exists to create liquidity within our own exchange, right? And maybe you see where I'm going. It's worth $600 million, even though they're already in the hole. So you give them $100, they'll turn their $100 into 100 worth of CEL tokens. And they're basically saying, oh yeah, we still have $100 worth in assets. No, you don't, because CEL only exists for the utility of your platform, right? It's only worth that much when we can utilize CEL basically as a currency pair to exchange between Bitcoin or Ethereum or Ripple or HBAR or whatever it is you're buying, right? I just threw out some coins that I liked. Maybe not Ripple. I haven't been in Ripple in years. What's another one? Ecomi, right? This is what these tokens are for, right? There's liquidity pools, right? And it literally has no value. Like, people don't invest in CEL token. Doesn't make sense, right? Oh man, I'm losing my voice. So it's a huge problem, and honestly, it's kind of just bullshit. It really is bullshit, right? If your token is only worth again, I'm reiterating the point. It only has value so long as your exchange is exchanging things, right? People want to buy Bitcoin. People want to trade Bitcoin. People want to turn Ethereum into Bitcoin. People want to turn Bitcoin into ADA, whatever it is, right? CEL is a means to do that, right? It is created purely for liquidity. I think the scariest thing about this for the crypto world is the fact that so many exchanges are going under, right? This is just the latest one, and there's no accountability, right? This is why crypto was invented, by the way, was to decentralize all of this. I'm an OG crypto head, and I mean like OG. I was mining Bitcoin back in the day, back in college, 2009. I was mining Bitcoin in 2009, guys, right? Like OG. And it blows my mind that this is what's hitting the space. It almost like validates the initial purpose of cryptocurrency. But people completely miss the boat on the whole, like, create a wallet, control your money, right? Use a decentralized exchange. I think exchanges are generally good. The downside of this, and what is going to be really hard for people to accept, is that regulation is going to follow suit, right? The SEC, I would not be surprised if they jump on this as a means to heavily regulate this space, because all the things we're seeing, I mean, these are just repeated outcomes. All of these things that are happening, exceptional levels of arbitrage. I mean, so much arbitrage happens because there is no centralization of these assets, right? If you look at all the money, all the Bitcoin flowing through one exchange, that's not the same pool of money, right? That's not the same market. It's literally a different market than on another exchange, right? Coinbase's exchange is a different market than KuCoin's exchange, than Binance's exchange, right? These are all different markets. And there's arbitrage opportunities literally 100% of the time, all the time, right? Now the market will tend to keep these prices pretty close together because the exchanges exist now, and there's APIs and there's computers trading across them. But there's at least a few, very explicit accounts of people doing arbitrage opportunities. I think for the individual and for you as a crypto investor, you really need to think about the next phase of crypto and how you should maintain your assets. I don't keep any of my assets on any exchanges, not even the ones that I like. I use Forex a lot. I use KuCoin a lot. I've used Coinbase a lot to exchange in and out of tokens. But I control all of my assets, right? Some in just mobile wallets, some in just paper wallets, right? If you don't know what a paper wallet is, that means that literally the wallet was generated and only exists on a piece of paper, right? It's never been online or anything like that. And you can move money like that. You can store money like that, right? Really easy to do. It's not hard. It takes some work, but you should look into it. Anonymity. There's pros and cons of being anonymous. I'm not going to state the exact reasons why you or me should want to be anonymous. I think that's up to you to decide. But there is innate value in privacy, right? And being able to store money anonymously could be useful. Could be useful to you. Could be useful to me, right? There might be reasons why you might want to have money somewhere that nobody knows about or has access to, right? I think there's some very real examples of where that could be the case, right? There are some big conflicts happening in the world today, and money was frozen, right? And imagine you're a person in a war-torn country, and suddenly you can't buy goods, you can't buy services, and you're a refugee, and you try to go to a different country, but your money is worthless. You can't do anything, right? But if there was a way for you to move value, right, in a decentralized system, turn it into that country's fiat with, crypto, you could do that. And if your country is oppressive and didn't want you to do that, right, it might be useful for that to be anonymous, right? So there's so many different reasons and why this is a powerful utility, guys. And outside of just like speculation, which is cool, I speculate in the markets too. I have tons of speculative investments, which is fine. The initial purpose of crypto was to give you the power to own something and control it. And it takes more work to control your money. There are trade-offs. There are trade-offs to controlling your money, right? You do not get bank services when you control your money. That's just the way it is. If you want bank services, you can go ahead and take some of that and turn it into fiat and use bank services, right? I still have a bank, I use Chase, cool bank, love it. But, I'm as a crypto head, there's a portion of my money that, I just maintain. And when I move it, I got to type in a bunch of stuff and double check it and send test transactions and make sure it's sent, and then, cross my I's and dot my T's. But it's worth it. It's worth it for the privacy. It's worth it for the security of it, right? Making sure that it's mine and that I always have control, right? When your money's in a bank, it's the same thing. The bank owns that money. A lot of us don't think that, but I tell you, the flick of a button, a bank can stop you from, it doesn't matter how much money you have, they can turn all of that into zero. If you can't spend money, you have no money. Think about it. If you literally can't spend your money, you have none. And we do that all the time. You know what sanctions are? It's exactly what that is. It's like, oh, you have $5 million? Well, it's frozen. No, you don't have any money. No, you don't have $5 million. And what a lot of people do is they'll have tangible assets. That's why they'll own real estate. That's why they'll own wine cellars on the ground. That's why they'll own all these things that have value that they can trade into cash and whatever to stay liquid, to move around, the government or whatever else trying to fuck them, trying to get them, right? So keep this in mind, guys. Crypto is a fun world. This is just the first reckoning, I think. I think this is the first reckoning since, it's not the first time the market's crashed, but it's the first reckoning since we've had so much corporate interest, which is very, very different, right? When it was all retail, when Mt. Gox, went under and all of that and all the other thefts, those are honestly meaningless. This is the first time that we've had, think about the amount of money that Tesla has in Bitcoin, right? As one example, there's so many different companies who have invested in Bitcoin in particular, Ethereum, hedge funds who own these assets. And so the interest is entirely different than it was before, which means the money lost, like we see in Celsius as a premier example, is different, right? Their backers, 3AC, all these different venture funds, investors, right, have lost a ton of value, on paper or otherwise, or realized. So there's going to be, I think, some legal ramifications for this. I would not be surprised if the EU, takes the lead on this. They tend to regulate a lot faster than we do, and come in with some pretty swift and hefty, crypto regulations. We're seeing KYC pop up in a few places to where, you can't even move your money through an exchange unless they say, hey, it was Jim Johnson, who moved $20,000, and that defeats the whole purpose of crypto. You don't have it's not an anonymous movement of money anymore. And I think on the flip side of that, we're going to start to see, more exchanges who are purely based on, providing services for people who want to remain anonymous. So these are all, I think, outcomes. These are all outcomes that I think are going to happen due to, this exchange going bankrupt, possibly others. We might see a few more bankruptcies. I was actually looking online and, a thread, and someone was like, it'll be terrible if Binance or Coinbase crashes. And it's like, crypto existed before these exchanges. Obviously, it'd be a traumatic hit to the market, but it's not going to end crypto. I mean, it just won't. Somebody else will just take their place. This stuff had value. Will it be the same when these companies who are trying to capitalize on it are gone? No, of course not. Will it have value? It's not going to go to zero. Everybody who's playing this game, is still going to play it, or maybe new players will enter, right? That's just the way it's going to be. Crypto's been around for over 10 years now. It's not going away anytime soon. Decentralized assets, DeFi, are all very, very powerful tools. Look into DeFi, that whole ecosystem of tools and the ability to move money into different types of cryptos, all this using smart contracts and things like that, is exceptionally powerful. It's also exceptionally powerful for the developing world. Again, there's two reasons why you might not want to use a bank. One, maybe banking services are too expensive, right? You can't afford the fees. If all I need is a piece of paper, or maybe I just have a cell phone, and now I can just store money in crypto, and I'm in a developing country, and there's hyperinflation or whatever. Crypto's super volatile, but I can keep it in USDC, or I could put it in something which, the whole market is down now, but Stellar Lumens is something I often use because it's super quick to switch in and out of different currency pairs with Stellar. You can just store your value in this arbitrary thing that your government has no say or control over, right? You have a VPN and you're good to go. So many use cases that, outside of speculation, that have innate utility, which is why it's not going anywhere. So we're here for a reckoning, which is good. This is the next phase. That means we're getting to the next phase. Version 4 of crypto is here. Well, it will be here. It'll be the phoenix that rises from these ashes. But yeah, if your money is still on exchange after this point, you might be dumb. That's it for this one. Hit the like button, subscribe. See you in the next one.